aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. And you say it sounds like it. Does it sound like it? What is aspirational bodhicitta?
I wish to become a Buddha for the benefit of
Is that aspirational bodhicitta? Then engaging bodhicitta can also be aspirational bodhicitta because you wish to be enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. What's the difference between aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta? Pardon? No, that is bodhicitta in general. To be aspirational bodhicitta is not aspiring to have bodhicitta. Aspiring to have bodhicitta is not aspirational bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the spontaneous wish. Spontaneous, like you don't have to make an effort. And all your actions are influenced by the wish to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. But there's a difference, once you have that mind, between the mind that is called aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. What's the main difference? What's the main difference?
engaging is the active one.
How does it become active? What do you need to do to make it active? No. No, spontaneous is aspirational bodhicitta is bodhicitta, which means spontaneously has to arise. Taking the bodhisattva. Taking the bodhisattva vow, right? So once you have it, you can take the bodhisattva vow only if you're a bodhisattva. Sorry. I mean, you can take it if you're not a bodhisattva, but you won't get it. Right? You don't get it. Why? Because of one vow. One vow. If you break that vow, you definitely lose your bodhisattva vow. Which one is it? Giving up bodhicitta. If you don't have bodhicitta, you can't give it up. Right? It's as simple as that. All the other ones, there's a way in which you can actually reduce, like if you break some of the other ones, there's like a way in which you can make sure you don't totally break it and kind of protect this vow. But giving up bodhicitta is giving up bodhicitta. You only have to have the thought, oh no, for all sentient beings minus that obnoxious jerk. And that's it. All sentient beings minus one, you're out. You lose your bodhicitta. Alright, so if you have a sense of that, bodhicitta means initially you have aspirational bodhicitta because you can't have the vow. It's not like you take the vow and then you generate bodhicitta and you automatically have aspirational engaging bodhicitta. Because first you have to have aspirational bodhicitta, be a bodhisattva, and then you can take the vow. Once you take the vow, you're actively engaging. You're making the promise to practice. That's why you're engaging. Before you're wishing to become enlightened, but with the vow, because of the merit of the vow, it really takes you like as Shantideva would say, it's the difference between wanting to go and actually going. Through taking the vow, you're now much more actively going towards enlightenment. That's the difference. But in both cases, aspirational and engaging, in both cases, you need to have a spontaneous wish to be enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. So I myself will do it. But will do what? Before you will want to go there, you would want to, your main aim is to relieve sentient beings from suffering. That's your main aim. And that's very much stressed by the fact that there are actually more minds that you discuss as part of that chain. There is a feeling of closeness towards sentient beings. Only if you feel close towards someone, you want them to be free from suffering. Then you want them to be free from suffering. Then you wish you yourself would be able to do it. And then you yourself want to do it. You're determined to do it. That is special altruistic attitude. So great compassion is twofold. Great compassion is the wish for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. And then the one that is specific to the Maya, to those who are inclined towards the Mahayana practice, that is the wish that I myself will do it. And that wish turns into determination, and then you call it no longer great compassion, you call it the special altruistic attitude. Okay? Does that make sense? Not easy, but at least we need to understand those minds. It's not easy to generate those minds. Of course, first we need to understand them. So therefore, a hearer and a solitary realizers, they have the mind that wishes for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. Some say they don't, but it doesn't make sense. Which one are they excluding? Right? That wouldn't make sense if they exclude some sentient beings. They have equanimity, right? Equanimity, a sense of equanimity where you don't prefer some living being and prefer others, so you don't prefer some and you prefer others. If you let go of that, if you have an equal sense towards all sentient beings, why would you not have love towards all sentient beings? Why would you not have compassion towards all sentient beings? So that doesn't make sense. Okay, it is debated, but this is the way I've been taught it, and it makes a lot of sense to me. All right. Not according to Benjamin Dharma, really, but never mind. This is... he seems to suggest, not so sure, that there is no great compassion in the continuum of hearers and solitary realizers, but I don't think that's right. Anyway, so what is a hearer as opposed to a solitary realizer? What's the difference between the two?
You have a teacher.
Solitary realizer is much more social. More socializing. You can't really have that with the bodhisattva, because a bodhisattva must be social in the sense of not maybe socializing as much, but wishing to be around sentient beings, wishing to benefit sentient beings, right? You can still be an introvert, but still enjoying the company and wanting to teach the Dharma in whichever way possible. Whereas there's the hearer with someone who's not motivated by the same drive to wish to bring happiness to sentient beings, that is, wish to remove the suffering of sentient beings, I think you can have more differences in terms of their character. And there may be more differences, but those are the two mentioned in the scripture. So one is a lot more, spends a lot more time around the Sangha and relies more on teachers. They also say it's a sign of intelligence to a certain degree, that a solitary realizer can figure things out on his or her own much easier than a hearer. So a hearer, yes?
You said a solitary realizer is more social?
No, the other way around. The hearer is more social. The solitary realizer is more solitary. Yeah, sorry if I said it the wrong way around. So a hearer is called hearer for two reasons. Listening more to the teachings, but also teaching it to others, even the Mahayana teachings. Even the Mahayana Shravaka, we say Shravaka, not Shravaka, we say, no wait, what is it? Pratyeka and Shravaka, yeah, Shravaka. Shravaka is the word for hearer, and the meaning of that, Todil, in Tibetan they use the word Todil. Todil means that which they hear, they explain it to others. Even the Mahayana Dharma, they may not practice it, but they teach it to others. Plus, they receive a lot more teachings, they rely more on a teacher, and socialize more, if you like, much more part of the community. So they need the Sangha. A solitary realizer needs the Sangha less. They do take teachings initially. Without any teachings, they won't be able to continue. But since it takes time, it takes lifetimes even to become liberated, they make prayers that towards the end of their time as a non-liberated being, may they be reborn in a place where there's no Buddha, may they be reborn in a place where there's no Dharma, where they figure it out themselves, and also without having to teach verbally, because that disrupts their concentration, and that instead they can teach through example. Okay? So therefore, the solitary realizers, they rely much more on the Dharma versus the Sangha in comparison to a hearer. Relies more on the Sangha, the support of the Sangha. The solitary realizer in general doesn't. And a Bodhisattva is much more interested, relies more on a Buddha, seeing that as an example that he or she aspires towards. So from that point of view, they say that it is said that there are three types of refuge. in terms of the causal refuge, they do, it's basically, they also rely on Buddha Dharma Sangha, but their main resultant refuge, and then even in there's a difference that they do rely on all three, but especially with the hero and the solitary realizer, there's more reliance on the Sangha, there's more reliance on the Dharma. But with regard to Bodhisattvas, so the causal refuge, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and then the main resultant refuge is the Buddha. Then the solitary realizers, or those who have an inclination towards them, it's Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, but mainly actually the Dharma, and the resultant state is also the Dharma. And for hearers, it's Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, but the main one of those is Sangha, and the resultant is also the Sangha. So you see this little chart here. Although it says all three, but in fact, actually, it's more of those respective ones, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Okay, so that's what it says in the general meaning. It starts off talking about Buddhas. The resultant objects of refuge is mainly Bodhisattvas. So the Buddha jewel is also as an object of refuge. Okay, anyway. Furthermore, Buddhas are the Buddha jewel is an object of refuge because Buddhas serve as the resultant objects of refuge for Bodhisattvas. Furthermore, Buddhas are the causal objects of refuge of Bodhisattvas, hearers, and solitary realizers for the teacher in the path. So, in general, they teach in the path, all three of them, in the way Asanga discussed it earlier on. But then you could still say it's more. The Buddha is more a causal object of refuge for a Bodhisattva, because that's what basically from the point of view of the result. Otherwise, they're equally taught. And the Buddha jewel is also posited as an object of refuge, because Buddha are the causal objects of refuge for those who have not yet entered the path and regard Buddha as a supreme object of worship. Okay, so the Buddha is basically important for everyone. In other words, the Buddha jewel is posited as an object of refuge because among three jewels, it is the main resultant object of refuge for Bodhisattvas and the causal object of refuge of all three. Alright, yeah, causal as in like all three receive assistance from the Buddha. But in terms of their own aspiration, it's the Bodhisattvas mainly aim for the state of Buddha. Then the necessity of positing the Dharma jewel is the same as before. All of them rely on the Dharma as their causal refuge. However, from the point of view of what they aspire towards mainly is to be able to actualize the Dharma, but not to be a Sangha jewel for other beings, for instance, and definitely not to be a Buddha. So solitary realizers, they aim mainly to be self-liberated, to live the Dharma, to actualize the Dharma, but they're not interested in being Arya jewels. Not interested in being Sangha jewels, I should say. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the last one, the Sangha jewel, again, as a causal object of refuge, they are the object of refuge for all three. So the Bodhisattva relies on the Sangha, and hero relies on the Sangha, a solitary realizer does too. However, once they're done, the Sangha, the hero, his aim is to teach others, for instance, even to teach the Mahayana, to kind of engage, be more engaging. And so, of the two, being a Dharma jewel and being an Arya jewel, there's more emphasis on that, and he's not interested in becoming a Buddha. So that is the explanation, but there's no contradiction from the point of view of why there are three objects of refuge, causal objects of refuge. That was explained before, right? Asanga explained those three. Why you have all three as a causal. Here it explains why you have all three as a resultant. That's because of the different aims of those different beings. Okay.
The solitary realizer, the resultant refuge of Dharma is for solitary, as a solitary realizer, and he has not entered the path. He can't into Dharma for us.
Pardon?
The resultant the main resultant refuge of the hero who have completed his goal, his goal, is Sangha.
For the hero, yes.
For the heroes.
Yes.
so he's sung for other hearers.
Yes. Yes. So of the two, what are the two results that a hearer can achieve of the three? Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? Well, Dharma and Sangha. But he's less interested in his own realizations, or less as in like his goal is basically to pass on what he's taught, the wish to socialize in that way. Even, I'm not just talking about becoming an arhat, even on the way towards becoming an arhat. So let's say they're on the path of seeing, they're on the path of meditation. They're already Arya Sangha, they're already Sangha jewels. They have already the Dharma in their continuum because they have cessations and true path in their continuum. Plus, they're already Arya beings. But they're mainly interested in being Arya beings. Versus the solitary realizers, when they reach that state, they don't want to teach, they don't want to pass on the Dharma. If it happened that through their behavior, etc., without having, just being themselves, basically without having to go out of their way to teach, if that teaches others, great, but definitely don't want to give teachings. Okay, so they're much more solitary. Their focus is more on meditation, on single-pointed meditation. And again, single-pointed meditation, you don't want to teach a lot because it disrupts your meditation. Okay? No bodhisattvas. Anyway, all right. So, therefore here, that's what it says. The Sangha jewel is an object of refuge because the Sangha selves is the resultant object of refuge for hearers who have taken their last rebirth in samsara and wish to attain nirvana by depending on a teacher. Furthermore, the Sangha jewel is also the resultant object of refuge for those who have the hero inclination but have not yet entered a path. So during the end of their life, they wish to attain nirvana by depending on a teacher, so they still need a teacher, but basically, most importantly, they want to be teachers themselves. So it's not mentioned in here, but that's really the meaning of that. So it says only wishing to have a teacher and wishing not to have a teacher, but it's also they wish to be teachers and they wish not to be teachers. So hearers wish to be teachers, wish to be Arya jewels. Solitary realizers do not wish to be that. Does that make sense? Yes. And of course, eventually they also become bodhisattvas. It's only during that stage. Thus, the Sangha jewel is an object of refuge because of the three jewels. It is the main resultant object of refuge for hearers and for those who possess the hero inclination. The reason this is mentioned here, it's not just hearers, but also those who have the hero inclination. Why is this mentioned? Why do we talk about bodhisattvas versus those who have bodhisattva inclination? Hearers versus those who have hero inclination. Solitary realizers and those who have that type of inclination. What's the need for doing that? But why do I not say hero right from the beginning? Why do I say those who have the inclination? When do you start becoming a hero? When do you become a hero? Once you enter the path of accumulation of a hero. So what about the person who's on their way to enter the hero path? Right? It's not like you're neither hero, solitary, realizer, bodhisattva, you have no inclination, you just suddenly jump in that. It's not, there has to be an inclination. So in Tibetan they talk about having an inclination towards hero or solitary realizer. I mean, right now I'd say you have an inclination for the bodhisattva path. I don't know, but more likely. So having an inclination, which means, well, I think it's explained later on anyway, kind of like that at some point you will enter this particular path, that this is where your drive, your interest is leading you. Does that make sense? So this is why those are mentioned here as well, so those who have an inclination. And even Maitreya mentions this in his Uttara Tantra, so there being a teacher, the teachings of the disciple leads to respective aspirations towards the three vehicles and the different activities of worship. Therefore, refuge is shown as threefold. So one is seen as the causal refuge, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, like the analogy of doctor, etc. And here, in particular, with regard to the resultant refuge, you talk about those three. Okay? All right. Can we leave the questions towards the end? I've not been very consistent with that just now, unless that's a clarification. Okay. Now, next is identifying the nature of the three objects of refuge. Nature is such a big word in Tibetan. It can mean so many different things. Here it means the meaning of the three objects of refuge. So the nature of the three jewels according to the Hira tenets, and the nature or the meaning of the three jewels according to the Mahayana tenets. Chittamatra, Madhyamika, and then Madhyamika divided to Svatantrika and Prasangika. That's also mentioned in the beginning. Now, as I said before, the Buddha was the best pedagogue. He went around India and he gave teachings according to people's needs, predisposition, interests, etc. But there's a problem with this. The problem was that after the Buddha's passing away, there were all these teachings. The Buddha didn't structure his teaching. The Buddha just spontaneously talked in accordance to people's needs. So you have all these different teachings, and they were then categorized into what are called the four tenets. Four tenet systems, I should say. The four tenet systems, you could divide it up this way, you could divide it up a different way. So this is not like carved in stone in the sense that you can't do it any other way. But in the Tibetan tradition, it's been passed on in that way. In other traditions, it's different. In the Tibetan tradition, they take the Hira tenet. Sometimes they're called the Hinayana tenet. It's not the same as the Hinayana path or the Hinayana practice. The Hinayana tenet are certain philosophical ideas. So you can be a Hinayanist by tenet and a Mahayanist by practice. A Mahayanist by practice would mean you want to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. But you hold some of these views that are common to the Vaibhashika and Sautantrika. You can also be a Mahayanist by tenet and a Hinayanist by practice. You want to become enlightened, but you hold the same views as either the Chittamatra or the Madhyamika. Okay? Is someone not familiar with these words at all? When I say Vaibhashika and Sautantrika, are you not familiar? All right. So it's just a name to two systems, four systems altogether. So to summarize, the Vaibhashika and the Sautantrika, they don't talk about emptiness. They don't talk about all sentient beings can become a Buddha. They say a Buddha cannot be omniscient. And they say Buddha cannot be omniscient, there's no emptiness, there's only selflessness. What else did I say? Not all sentient beings become Buddhas. Oh, and they say that all external phenomena exist truly, the way they appear to us. This external world exists truly the way it appears to us. Mind is over here, objects are over there. Okay? Does it sound like, I like that school. I live my life. I don't even, emotionally, it feels right. Except for no self. But all sentient beings will become Buddha. The Buddha can know all phenomena simultaneously. Not sure. Right? On top of that phenomena exist truly externally out there the way they appear. That is Vaibhashika and Sautantrika. And there's some differences there. And they already prepare our mind for the other schools. But these bits, they leave us. External phenomena exist truly out there. Omniscience is not possible. You can become a Buddha, but you don't know everything simultaneously. But they explain ideas such as the mind. They give a lot of importance to the mind. They say, what else do they do? They talk about karma, reincarnation, of course. All those ideas are explained. They have even an explanation of the conventional and the ultimate truth, which is very different to the other systems, but a nice preparation. Okay, so those are Vaibhashika and Sautantrika. Their views are the closest to our ordinary views, you may say. Okay, so it explains, a lot of it makes sense here. when they talk about the 3 objects of refuge, the way they present them. So you don't go all the way, which can be overwhelming, which is in accordance with the 2 higher views, Chittamatra and Madhyamika. Okay? So Vaibhashika just means great exposition school, and South Tantrika means sutra school. And then you have the 2 higher ones, the Chittamatra, or mind only, and the Madhyamika, or middle way. Those 2 believe that nothing that exists externally exists truly. The Chittamatra says nothing that exists externally exists truly because there's nothing external. Right? They say things don't exist externally. That is very radical. After hearing everything is out there, it's right there, our mind perceives it the way it is. When you've gone to this extreme, in order to find the middle way, you first go to another extreme. There's nothing out there, there's only mind. I say, there's just mind. Mind truly exists, it's really there. Mind is really solid, inherently there. But nothing external exists, like whatever, matrix or whatever you want to call it. That we're like in a dream, we're just dreaming. Okay? So therefore, the mind exists truly, solidly, is really there, but its objects don't exist. That's their view. And thereafter you have the middle way school, which is a middle between those 2. No, they're external phenomena, but the mind doesn't exist truly, and external phenomena also don't exist truly. Okay? That's the middle way school. And then there are those who differentiate between true existence and inherent existence, that's the Svatantrika. And then the Prasangika is the highest. Nothing exists truly, nothing exists inherently. There's just nothing there from the side of the object. Okay? Now this was a crushing explanation in a few minutes. But they talk about emptiness of like all phenomena, those 2, Chittamatra and Madhyamika. All phenomena lack a certain mode of existence. A Buddha is omniscient. Objects only exist because there's mind. You see, it's quite different from before. And if you just have a rough sense of that, of this distinction that I just mentioned, that's enough for this course. Okay, so what does it say here? Now, there's refuge, of course, from the point of view of those other 2 tenets. And I find they're really interesting because they make a little bit more sense to us. Any kind of resistance when it comes to taking refuge in the whole person, that's gone here. Because I think initially, when we come to the Dharma, especially if you have a background, for instance, in the Jewish tradition, worshipping a person is difficult, right? So Buddha is very much stressed, was an ordinary person at some point, is still a human being. So we start off with Buddha Shakyamuni, that's the first Buddha we meet, right? Then there are lots of other Buddhas that comes later. But initially the idea is, Buddha was born into this world 2,600 years ago. That's how we're introduced to the Dharma. Because our mind is not flexible enough to be bombarded with all these Buddhas, thousands of emanations. No, slowly. You hear the life story of the Buddha and you believe there's only one Buddha. He was born just an ordinary guy with a lot of luxuries, and then he sat under the right tree and he became enlightened. Right? Short version of that. So, therefore, it seems hard to take refuge in, just a human being. Okay? So we may struggle with that, to worship a living being, a human being, who seems to just be ordinary and then his mind transformed. So they felt the same way, the Vaibhashika and the Sautrantika felt the same way. So they only take refuge in the mind of the Buddha, not the person. Right? Just a little bit user-friendlier initially. The whole person, that's too much. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. They take us gently towards the highest school, which then says, sorry, that's not enough, there's more to it. But it's really all about, when you exercise, when you do physical exercises, when you do yoga or any other physical exercise, you don't start off with the advanced practices on the first day, do you? You'll be in pain for the next 2 weeks and you probably never do it again. So what you do is just gently prepare your body for certain exercises that come later. Now our mind works similar to a muscle, except it's non-physical. But it also needs a gentle preparation for some of these ideas that if we are ordinary people,